Good afternoon, or good morning, or good evening, depending on when you're viewing this. But right now, this is Greg Napier coming to you from my home office here in Columbus, Ohio, on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. So I don't know where it is, what time it is where you are, and what the weather is looking like. We've had some funny weather this year for whatever reason. It just depends on, what part of the country you're in. Texas got hit real bad. Ohio got hit pretty decent. But overall, ladies and gentlemen, we've had some pretty decent winters here in Columbus. In Ohio, not so much, but we've had some pretty decent winters. But I know a lot of you are still, dealing with the pandemic and having to wear a mask. I was actually going to have a demonstration and put mine on, but I said, no, I'm not going to do that. My mother-in-law just got me these, and there's some KN95s actually, but that's another story for another day. But it has to do everything with my title. Why be an entrepreneur? Well, an entrepreneur actually created this. A business person created this because of the situation we that we have we're wearing masks. So we got somebody out here who said, okay, let's create let's create some masks. Let's do this, let's do that. That's an entrepreneur spirit. That's a person who's actually looking at the situation and assessing the situation and saying, hey, what can I do to add value to the marketplace? And the reason I chose this topic today is because I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 10. And I'll just give you a little backstory on me. When I was 10 years old, actually before 10, before 10 years old, my friends and I were in Chattanooga. That's where I did the first 12 years of my life. And we were actually collecting pop bottles. And I'm dating myself, and that's okay. Because, like the old people told me, if you live long enough, you'll be able to talk about it. If you don't, then you won't be able to talk about it. So just keep living. So basically, what it amounted to back in the day, we could collect pop bottles, and you could get 5 cents for one type of pop bottle, and you could get a dime for another type of pop bottle. So for a while there, we just kept looking for bottles that could get us 10 cents, not knowing that we probably should have been just getting any bottle that would get us 5 cents or 10 cents, because the more bottles you got, regardless if they were five or a nickel or a dime, you were still coming up. Because back in my day, and I'll tell you this, those were some wonderful days, and a lot of people just don't understand this, how important this is, and don't pay attention to inflation. And that has a lot to do with being an entrepreneur. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about, inflation. And a lot of people, that same nickel and that same dime that I was getting in 1965, 66, 67, 68, and so on and so forth. But this just let me deal with it like this. Back then, I could take 25 cents, literally, and I could buy a candy bar, a bag of chips, and a soda and have change from 25 cents. Now, if I go in the store right now with that same 25 cents, I can't buy anything. It's the same 25 cents. But see, the cost of living and the cost of goods have gone up, but the value of the money stayed right there. It actually is less. You can buy less with that same money. And I know you're saying, well, Greg, what does that have to do with being an entrepreneur? It has everything to do with an entrepreneur, because a person who has an entrepreneur mindset, they look for ways to add value to the marketplace and to become a business owner. They organize and they take a lot of risks. Most people aren't willing to take risks. Like on the job that you're working on currently right now, an entrepreneur started that job. I worked for the Postal Service for 25 years. Somebody had to come up with that concept of getting the mail from one place to the next place. I'll give you an example of a business minded individual thinking like that. When I first took the job at the post office, I remember my grandmother said she worked for this place called Railway Express. Well, if you know anything about the history of the Postal Service, it started going by actually horse and buggy. Well, the Pony Express for that matter. But then during her era, my grandmother's era, she remembered working on the train. It was called Railway Express. And they sorted the mail on the trains. And that was somebody had to come up with a concept and an idea and take risks to take it from Pony Express to horse and buggy to the train. They had to have organizational skills and they had to put people together and they took a big risk. But as you know today, look at the services right now today. It's totally automated. Starting from humble beginnings of Pony Express, they were taking it from a guy getting or a girl getting on a horse and driving it from place, but riding that horse from place to place. That took a person's idea to say, "Hey, how can we get this mail or how can we get these products from this place to that place?" So they had to have some money to actually purchase the horses, and then they had to go get the fastest type of horses to get. Then they had to get people that were great riders who weren't afraid to go from this point to that point. Then as time went on and we start developing in the world, then it went from Pony Express to horse and buggy, still got the buggy, and now you had stage coaches. These were people, men and women who had innovative minds thinking outside of the box. That's what an entrepreneur does. And I shared three things, and in my notes down here it says they're outside of the box thinkers. They think outside the box. Somebody had to be thinking outside the box to come up with this concept of what we have as far as delivering the mail. And that changed the world. And that's what an entrepreneur does. They look for ways to change the world, and they're actually so passionate about what they do. So you'll see in the ticker going down, Young Entrepreneurs Program. Well, I've been challenged by a real good friend of mine, Dr. Stan, over in Texas. And you may have seen him out on the internet. He's been out. He's been out for a long, long time. And I first met this gentleman, and I should have tagged him in the video, but I'll probably tag him later. I met him out in Dallas, Texas, back in 2009 at an event that I attended called More Heart Than Talent. Well, that's basically what an entrepreneur has more heart than talent. You may not have the talent, but you have the idea. You have the thought process. You're willing to take a risk. You see something and you see how you can make something and turn something better based off of an idea. And you take that idea and you sit and you formulate a plan to bring it to the marketplace. That's all an entrepreneur does, is they think outside the box. And I know most of you are saying, "Well, man, I got these ideas." Well, here's what you do. You can take that idea. You can literally take something as small as this pen and turn it into a business opportunity. Somebody did it. Somebody took this concept of an ink pen and they had some writing stamped on here, and then they put it out into the marketplace to be sold. That's thinking outside the box. How many people would have thought to put something advertisement wise or whatever onto a pen? And there are all different types of ideas. The computer that I'm coming to you from on my laptop. Somebody by the name of whoever created the computer. I didn't do the research to find out who created the computer. So you can type in a comment and say the person that created the computer. But here's what I'll tell you. There was a guy named Bill Gates who came up with the software called Microsoft for a personal computer, which we call a PC. And then you had a guy named Jobs who came up with Apple for the Mac. These were people who thought outside the box. and they were passionate about what they created. And as a result, we got people who use the Mac, we got people who use the PC, we got people who use different types of pens. I don't have another one to give an example. We have this cup right here that's holding the water, or it could hold coffee. That's an innovative idea. So now you can travel with that. Whereas before that, we had to leave the stuff in our home. Now I can travel with this. I can take and put whatever beverage of my choice inside this cup and travel wherever I need to go. Wherever I need to go and still have that beverage of my choice. Here's another one, the cell phone. This thing started off as a device that we use to just speak on the phone to talk to this person in this part of the country or right next door or across the street. Now it's a full-fledged computer. I remember when I first got my phone, it was a flip phone. And now I have what's called a smartphone. So I do at least 85% of what I do from this phone called a smartphone. This was thought of by a person that thought outside the box. Now all you have to do is decide what you want to come up with and think outside the box and be passionate about it and bring it to the marketplace. I'll give you another example of something that was so innovative. It just happened to come to my mind that when this was going on, when the slaves were picking cotton. Now history tells us Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. That's not true. And the reason why the people are going to disagree with me is because back then blacks couldn't get patents. How could Eli Whitney create something that he wasn't even working on? Somebody, which was a slave, thought of an innovative way on how to process cotton, and they brought it to him. And because he could go get a patent, he patented the cotton gin. But they were the ones working the cotton. That was people thinking outside the box to make life easier for them, not thinking of making money from it. There are a lot of things that are created that people, when they come up with the idea, it's not so much to make the money. They just trying to create a better way for them and thinking outside the box so to make life easier for them. It's leveraging their time and their energy. Because if you keep doing something over and over and over, you want to find a better and smarter and safer way to do that project. And so what happens is, forgive me, ladies and gentlemen, somebody's trying to call me. So being an entrepreneur is definitely risky. That's why only certain people in the world actually attempt to do it. And then there's some people who can think outside the box. They're passionate about what they do, and they go ahead on and do it. I've been a risk taker my entire life. Yeah, my entire life. And here I am, 63 years of age, and I still think outside the box. And I'm still passionate about what I'm doing. And I still want to change or look for ways to change the world and change the way people view it, change the way things are done, looking for ways to leverage my time and my energy and my money. Always looking for innovative ways, always. So being an entrepreneur is really a wonderful thing. A good percentage of the stuff that we participate in life was as a result of a person or persons thinking outside the box. I just mentioned it with the computer. I mentioned it with the cell phone. I mentioned it with the cup. I mentioned it with the ink pen. And here are the glasses that I'm using to see. There are all different types of objects. Here it is, the paper. Paper came from wood. Somebody had to think and says, hey, I can grow that tree, and as a result, I can turn that wood into paper. and then I can use the pen to write on the paper. That's a novel idea. Now, do you know that when somebody was thinking of that, somebody probably called them crazy that you can't do that. How can you turn wood into paper and then all of a sudden turn an ink pen and you can start writing on the paper? Or even this cup and have it to where you can take this cup and I can be mobile with the cup. There's all different types of ways that you can do this. But I just wanted to come out here on a Saturday and share and enlighten you on why I became an entrepreneur and why you should probably consider becoming an entrepreneur and changing your hobby into some money. Because I'm sure each and every one of you who are watching me, whether you're watching me live or you're watching me on the recording, you have an idea. You have something of value that you have been thinking about over the years that you want to bring to the marketplace. There's some of you out there that can make the best cakes on the market, but nobody knows about it. There's some of you that can make the best ribs out there on the market, and nobody knows about it. There's some of you that can write the greatest books on the planet, but nobody knows about it because all you do is talk about it, and you're afraid, and you just don't think that you can. If you think you can't, you can't. If you think you can, you can. You have whatsoever you think and whatsoever you say. If you say you can't do it, you can't do it. If you say you can do it, you can do it. I'm a staunch believer in the word of God says I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I remember before I even learned that scripture, my mother told me I can do anything that I put my mind to. So with me having that mental thought, I always thought that I could do anything I wanted to do. So I can't never entered into my vocabulary. Never. One of my favorite quotes from a guy named Og Mandino is I will persist until I succeed. Man, I will never give up. That was one of the things that ran through my mind when I was going through the Marine Corps basic training in 1979. That no matter what they take me through, I will complete this mission. And you're probably saying, what does that have to do with becoming an entrepreneur? It has everything to do with becoming an entrepreneur because you have an idea, you have a dream, you have a dream and an idea, and you want to bring it, but fear is occupying your space. And like I tell people all the time, fear and faith can't coexist. You either fearful that you can't do it, or you have faith that you can do any and everything you put your mind to. But they both can't occupy the same place. Light and dark can't occupy the same place. So you have to decide, hey, I know that there's a book inside of me. There's an idea that I have. All you have to do is just write it down. It doesn't make a difference how long it takes. Look what Ray Kroc did. And most of you don't know, if you don't know the story, the two McDonald brothers had the idea, and they brought the idea out to fruition and had the system. But Ray Kroc came along, even though if you watch the movie The Founder, even though Ray Kroc did it kind of underhanded the way he came about it, he still made a bigger and better mousetrap. He could have did it a little bit differently, and he didn't have to rip the McDonald brothers off like he did. Go watch the movie. You can form your own opinion. But most people, until they understand the story behind McDonald's, they think Ray Kroc created McDonald's, and he didn't. He just took a concept and made it better. You can do the same thing. You can take, and he took a lot of risks. And he was considered a door-to-door seller. He had sold everything under the planet. But here's one thing I'll tell you about Ray Kroc, regardless of how he went about acquiring McDonald's, he still had an entrepreneur spirit. And he still told himself, one day, he kept saying to us, one day. He knew that operation, when he first saw it, was a great operation because he admitted it at the end. Because one of the McDonald brothers asked him, and when he saw him at the end, he said, "Why us?" And he said, "Why not you? You could have named it your name." He says, "You have a great, catchy name, McDonald Brothers." He says, "Who's gonna buy burgers from a name Croc?" He had an idea. He had foresight and wherewithal to say, "Ooh, they got something here, but they don't know what they really got." You have something. You may just not know what you got. So I'm going to challenge each and every one of you. You'll see a link down in the description. Come along with me and take this challenge. It's a 5-day. It's going to be a 5-day challenge. And here, you know what the best part about it is? It's free. Your favorite 4-letter word. I learned that from one of my mentors before. Your favorite 4-letter word, free. And I started looking at this information, and I said, "Ooh, this is great information." And the first topic I'm going to talk about is why become an entrepreneur. So why would you want to become an entrepreneur? What do you even know what an entrepreneur is? So hopefully I've shined some light on what is an entrepreneur. Is it risky? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes. You all have greatness inside of you. You don't need a pep talk. You know that you got the greatest menu of a book inside of you for all the greatest ideas for a cookbook. You know that you can sew better than anybody. So you can become the best seamstress. I'm going to give you the story when I was listening to the guy that had FUBU. He had an idea, and he started in his mother's home in Los Angeles. He had an idea to create for us, by us. If you didn't know what FUBU stood for. And Damon went on to become a billionaire and is one of the original people on Shark Tank. From an idea, I had the privilege and honor of meeting him when I was actually selling his product. Yes, I sold FUBU. Yes. And you know what he told me? His office was in the Empire State Building in New York City. And he told me, he said, "Boy," he didn't say boy, he said, "Young man, if you can get a storefront, I can supply you with all the FUBU that you can get your hands on." At the time, I was selling out of my trunk of my car, just traveling all over. Yes, I was selling FUBU. I used to go to New York. I used to go to New York and get it. I used to go down on Lower Manhattan and buy as much FUBU as I could get my hand, and then I would come back to Columbus and I would sell FUBU all day long. So I got this bright idea one day. Here I go, thinking outside the box, not even knowing the true definition of an entrepreneur. Only I knew I was a risk taker, and it didn't make a difference. And I went and I said, "I'm gonna go." I found out where FUBU headquarters was. Now, most people, if I had told somebody in advance, they'd be like, "Man, you can't talk to the owner of FUBU." So if I ever listened to the doubters and the naysayers, I wouldn't be where I am today. I'm a risk taker for real. I don't listen. When you tell me I can't, I tell you just keep watching. You just keep watching when you tell me I can't do something. I went up there, and the lady asked me, "Do you have an appointment?" I said, "No, ma'am. I came from Columbus, Ohio. I just wanted to see if I could get an opportunity to see Mr. Damon. I understand this is his office up here, and I have an interest in selling FUBU in Columbus, Ohio." That was it. She said, "Have a seat." It was just that simple. And I've done this on numerous occasions in different aspects of my life because I ain't afraid. I never meet a stranger no matter where I go. They're not strange to me, they're people. They're people. And you got to be willing to open your mouth. I remember we first moved to Ohio from Chattanooga. Now, I had never been out of Chattanooga. I was 12 years old when I came to Columbus. I ain't know nobody. By 14 or 15, I was all over the city of Columbus doing anything and everything I wanted to do. I'm not bragging to you. I'm trying to impress upon you that you can do the same thing that I do if you put your mind to it and you want to come out of the box that you're in. You want to do a business, but you're afraid. you have a great business inside of you, but you just don't understand what to do or how to do it or who to talk to. Well, you got to ask questions. We're in the greatest age right now where we can pick up the phone and go right to Google. Google, who do I need to talk to? And Google gonna tell you who you need to talk to. You can put it. I can't tell you how many times I go to Google to find out stuff. I go right over to Google and I say, okay, Google, I need this. And Google says, okay, Greg, this is what you do, this is how you get there, and this is what's gonna take place. And I say, cool. So you have no excuse. You only have the excuse that you make. And if you make no excuse, there is no excuse. You can be an entrepreneur. I challenge each and every one of you again. Take the challenge with me. Click on the link below, and let's take the challenge together. Let me know where you're chiming in from, what city, what state, and I'll be sure to give you a shout out. Because let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen, you owe it to yourself. You owe it to yourself. The day that I decided that I wanted to do this full time, and that was actually, when I'm gonna tell you the day I decided to do it, it was way before 2008. I actually was making the plans to be on my own in 1998. Yes, in 1998. And I went to my wife and I said, you know what? This is what I want to do. And I started a real estate business. And I was running that real estate business in Pittsburgh from 1998 to 2006. And I had no idea what I was doing. I took a couple courses, went to Ron LeGrand's seminars. I followed all of the process of what they said to do, meaning Ron LeGrand. I followed his process to the T. I was thinking outside the box. I was in Pittsburgh, living in Pittsburgh, working for the Postal Service, and I started my real estate empire, as I like to say. And in 1998, I said, okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start buying property, getting them fixed up, and renting them. That was my process. Now, there were all different types of processes I could have chose. I could have said buy, fix, and sell. And some of them I did sell, but a lot of them I bought them, I fixed them, and I rented them out. I'm gonna tell you the greatest feeling I got. I'm gonna tell you the backstory. I'm gonna tell you the front story, then I'll tell you the backstory. The greatest feeling I got was when I bought that first property for $12,000, and it was a dump. I put $15,000 in it. I took it to the bank to get it refinanced. They refinanced it. I was able to get enough money. I had to be able to get enough money to give the hard money lender their money. And as a result of that, what was left over was a $15,000 check in my name. And the mortgage on that property was $400. I was able to rent that property out for $650. I cash flowed $250. I thought I was on top of the world. I said, oh my Jesus, this is real. Now, here's the backstory. Prior to that, I played with that on paper for about 2 or 3 years because without investing any money, it was just play. It was me gathering the theory, gathering the possibilities and saying, okay, this is what I want to do. And I didn't put no real money on it. This was when I lived in Ohio. But then when we moved to Pittsburgh, I said, okay, I got to stop playing with this thing with paper. I got to play with real money. And I sat down with my wife and I said, okay. I had no idea what I was doing, how it was going to look. Only mentor I had at the time was Ron LeGrand, and I had just paid the money to go to his seminars online, but I did it afraid, and I was thinking outside the box. And I was very passionate about taking an ugly home and making it beautiful. Now, I'm telling you the great part of the story without telling you all of the ins and outs and the backstory and the heartache and the pain, but I still hung in there. And on top of that, I was still working full time for the Postal Service. Yes, pursuing my dreams as an entrepreneur, but I had stepped up to a big boy level. I stepped up to a big boy level. I was out with the sharks for real. And if I didn't have an idea of what I was doing, I could have gotten eaten alive. Later on in life, I did get eaten alive. But here's what I do. There was a lesson learned in that. I learned my lesson. You can't take that lesson away from me. As a result, I started doing all types of innovative and interesting things. I remember when I went on a seminar for a whole week out in Colorado to learn how to buy lease option properties where I didn't have to spend any money. I spent the whole week. I was the only minority in that room for a whole week in Colorado. Spent my own money. I'm saying this to you to say that in order for you to get something, you're going to have to take a risk. Yeah. Is there a reward with that risk? Yes. Yes. And I had a lot of fun. And now here I am still treading along as an entrepreneur, never giving up. Never and that's what I'm telling you, that you don't give up. Don't give up. See it to the end. See it to the end. See it to the very end. And you'll see down there YEP 5-day challenge. You can click the link in there. I would be more than happy to partner up with you. It's free. It's free. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. Let me know if you got any value out of this, if you learned anything. I'm going to be talking about some other things, because as I dive into the challenge, I'm going to be taking bits and pieces of information from the 5-day challenge, and I'm going to be implementing them and coming out here and sharing them with you. Because being an entrepreneur and a business owner is to be all honesty, it's scary, but it's fun. It's fun. It's adventurous. Yeah, it's adventurous. It's adventurous. I get such a big thrill out of watching something go from nothing to something. Watching me learn something that I didn't have no idea what that looked like. Like when I transitioned from the real estate game over to the network marketing game, entrepreneuring over here, it was a learning curve. As a matter of fact, it was, and it still is, a 13-year learning curve. What I know now is way more than what I knew back in 2009 when I started. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. And that's how I can understand what you're going through and what your frustration is when you're venturing out here into a business, because the fear of the unknown. You're like, man, I don't want to do that. I don't want to. And I'm going to tell you, like the boy told me, and this is street talk: scared money don't never make no money. Scared money don't make no money. So I'm going to leave you with that. Scared money don't make no money. If you want to partner with me in taking this challenge, and we can all do this together, we can actually collectively come out. It don't make no difference how many, and we can get on a Zoom and we can actually talk about what we're doing going through the challenge. So in other words, however many people decide to take the challenge with me, we can all get on my Zoom. You might not even have a Zoom platform. And we can get on my Yardstream or my Zoom platform, and you can actually get Yardstream for free. And I can give you the information, and you can get your own Yardstream. Yeah, free platform. So the only excuse that you have is the excuse that you make. When you say, "Oh, I can't afford to get Yardstream." Oh, well, look, here's the challenge gonna be free, and Yardstream gonna be free. So all you have to do is just come and join with me, and we can just have a whole lot of fun. You'll be surprised at the stuff that you're gonna learn when you pull down the fear. When you pull down the fear and just pull up the faith. Pull down the fear and pull up the faith. Faith comes by hearing, hearing by the word of God. Don't be fearful all your life. The richest place on planet Earth is the graveyard. I said that to a girl one time. She said, "What are you talking about?" Because a lot of dreams and businesses have gone on, and them people are dead because some of them were fearful and afraid. It's always told to me, do it afraid. So God bless each and every one of you till I see you again. I love you. And if you want to take the challenge with me, don't just do it afraid. If you need a platform, you can get Yardstream. I can give you the information to get it for free. You can click on the link, and we can do this challenge together, and we can all come to collectively, and we can all get on here and we can show people. And it don't make no difference if you're man, woman, black, white, fat, skinny. Doesn't matter. Don't matter. It doesn't matter. Don't matter where you come from, how much money you're making. You might not even have a job. You can still do the challenge with even not having a job, because you don't need a job to get StreamYard for free. You can get on this challenge for free, and we can talk about it. So God bless you. Looking forward to doing the challenge with you. Stay tuned for my video I'm gonna do tomorrow. I have no idea what I'm gonna talk about, but I'm gonna come out and give you some inspiring and encouraging information on what and how to do business.